What's going on, YouTube? What's happening? Happy Sunday to y'all. Listen, man, I just wanted to come on. I haven't been on my channel. I haven't gone live on my YouTube channel in a while. So I just wanted to uh, do a practice run, right? But I want to talk about some stuff that's near and dear to my heart. I don't have any music playing, but that'll come with time. I'm all new to this. So hopefully I can get some folks to come in and say what's up to me while I am streaming this live video. I'll see if I can share it real quick. Boom. Hold on one second. Today will be nice. There you go. All right. There. Okay. So I shared it to my Facebook, and I'm going to see if I can get anybody to come in here and say what's up while I'm in here. And today, what I'm going to talk about is, like I said earlier, some shows that are near and dear to my heart. Now I'm telling you, I have a lot of other things going on in my life, but I absolutely love watching TV, right? And so there are about 6 shows. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 shows that I like to that I watch on a weekly basis that I love to talk about and watch every week. And so, be it that this is the new fall season of all these shows, they all came back this past week, and so I'm gonna start with shows that the show that comes on Fox. No, it's NBC. I'm sorry, NBC. New Amsterdam. Now, if you guys watch this particular show, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. But if you have not watched this show as of yet, if you are a watcher and you have not watched the season premiere of this show, now is the time for you to leave the video because there are some spoilers ahead. So if you have not watched season 2, episode 1 of New Amsterdam, you may want to go ahead and leave the video now. Okay. So the new episode of New Amsterdam starts out with, if you guys watched the season finale last season, they left us with a cliffhanger, and the last thing you saw was 2 ambulances colliding at the end of season 1. All right, so if you guys are familiar with that, so coming into season 2, episode 1, of course, you guys know, if you were watching this show, you know the lead actor in this show. What's his name, babe? The lead actor, Sam? No, yeah, Sam. Sam, yeah, he's the director of the hospital, New Amsterdam, and he has cancer, and he has a doctor, Dr. Sharp, who's his doctor, and he was also married to a young lady named Georgia, and she was expecting. Now, if you watch season 1, you would know that Georgia was having complications in that last episode, and so, like I said, season 2, Max. Thanks, Max.
That's him.
I knew it was something. It was Max or Sam.
Does not sound right.
We should have said it. I don't
I
know.
couldn't think. I had to Google it.
So Max is the lead actor. So anyway, so at the end of season 1, Georgia was pregnant at the finale, and she was having complications, and water broke. I think it was a placenta abruption or eruption or something. So where it picks up at episode 1, season 2, they was driving the ambulances, and the ambulances collided one to another, in 2. So it picks up, and so we had to wait 6 months, honey? Is that what it was? It felt like a year, but 6 months before they came back, and we had to find out because anybody that watch TV know, and if you watch these kind of shows, you know that somebody passed away in this wreck, right? You just know it, right? So when it first starts up, you automatically think, you already know that it was the doctor Sharp that passed away. And the episode, the name of the episode was called "It's Your Turn," and so the reason why they named it that, because the entire time Max was they showed Max with Georgia and the baby started screaming, and she rolled over and said, "It's your turn." And Max got up, got the baby, da da da. So the show goes on, right? And so they flash back a couple of times to where Sharp broke her arm. No, she didn't break her arm. She got hurt real bad. And the other girl that was going to quit, I can't think of her name right now, but she was going to quit at the end of season one. And as she was leaving the hospital, that's when the wreck occurred and all that good stuff. So they showed her and what happened to her during the wreck. And by the end of the episode, because a lot of things happen in the middle, but by the end of the episode, you see Sharp healed from her wounds, and the young lady that ran the ER, she healed from her wounds. She's with a cane now and all that. But the most intriguing part of this particular episode, now, like I said, if you guys watch these shows, and if you watch any of them, they're all one that tug at your heartstrings, right? They really tug at your heartstrings if you really watch it. If you don't, if you watch these shows and they don't pull on your heartstrings, you are definitely in the wrong business, right? You need to check your pulse. Something's wrong. So by the end of this episode, like I told you, the name of the episode was called "It's Your Turn." So again, they show Max. At one point, a doctor was trying to speak to him, and he kept walking past him. He didn't speak to him. He talked to him with, disdain. Pretty much hate. For this doctor. We didn't know why until the very end of the episode. And so by the time we get to the end of the episode, there's one more scene with Max in Georgia, and that ESPN thing is gonna get on my nerves. But so you see that one more scene with Max and Georgia in the bed, and the baby starts to cry, and she rolls over. Georgia says, "It's your turn." No, no, no. I'm sorry. Max rolled over and told Georgia, "It's your turn." You know, and she said she rolled over, and you heard the voice of her say, "No, it's your turn. It will forever be your turn." And right, just like that, they pan over and they show that Georgia, who they showed during the episode, was a ghost or a spirit, and so Georgia was the one that perished in that wreck. So that was, I'm sitting there, me and my wife, we sit there, we watching it, and you know, I'm a big old ball of emotions anyway, and so when I saw that, I just kind of, I kind of lost it. The ears started sweating, the eyes started sweating, and all that. So, very good episode. New Amsterdam is one of my favorites. If you guys have not watched that show, if you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out. NBC. I think it comes on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock on NBC Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check that out. All right, all right. So that's New Amsterdam. That's the season 2, episode 1 premiere. My thoughts with that particular show. Okay, the second show that we're going to get into is The Good Doctor. Now, The Good Doctor comes on ABC. If you do not watch The Good Doctor, you're definitely missing out on a very good show. This show stars the lead actor is named Sean Murphy, who is autistic. And he's autistic, but he's a very brilliant surgeon and doctor. So this show depicts his life trying to wade his way through the surgical stuff and trying to be a surgeon. So if you watch, I think now The Good Doctor is in season 3. Yeah, I think it's in season 3. And I keep looking over. I'm conferring with my wife here. She's sitting beside me in her little office space. But in the end of season 2, Sean was just getting ready to get out on his own and start dating, and he had a crush on one of the phlebotomists that ran the blood department, and she was his love interest, or uh, he started crushing on her, and so he asked her out. And so when he asked her out, she said yes, which to his dismay, which he didn't think she was going to say yes, because Sean, with people that are artistic, that they get that weird vibe from people, and people don't really like. I don't know what. And so she said yes. The season starts out with them on the date, and they're on the date, and Sean is very awkward, very awkward, very fidgety during the date and all of that. And so during the entire episode, the cast kept asking him, "Well, what happened? How'd it go?" And he kept saying it was a disaster. It was a disaster, and we didn't know why he kept saying that. I mean, because as he was telling the story, the story he was telling, it seemed to anyone else that the date went off like a hitch, without a hitch. But to Sean, it was a disaster. And so a couple of things happened during the episode that was unrelated to the lead actor, and young lady had cancer. I mean, just like I said, it's one of those shows that really tug at your heartstrings, right? If you watch it, and if you're a crybaby like me, you definitely want to put on, or you definitely want to have some tissue handy for this. But like I said, he kept saying throughout the entire episode about the date, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. And they could not figure out why. It was a disaster. According to what he was saying, it seemed like the date went off without a hitch. At the end of the episode, he explains why the date went off without a hitch. Again, in any of these shows that I'm mentioning, if you watch them and have not seen the season premiere, there are spoilers ahead. You definitely want to go ahead and bounce out, because I'm going to talk about. I just talked about New Amsterdam, The Good Doctor, SVU, 911, Chicago Fire, PD, and Med. So you definitely want to, if you are a fan of either one of these shows and you have not seen the premiere, this is your warning. You want to go ahead and bounce out of this live right now. Okay. So there are spoilers ahead. So at the end of the episode with Sean and the cast. And he said, they said, well, and they finally asked him, well, why was it such a bad date? If what you're saying to me, what you're saying to us, it's not like it went off without a hitch. Why was it a disaster? And you know how Hollywood do. They cut the music down, and it was really slow. And he said, imagine my condition, imagine me, being autistic, and things that you don't normally do, you had to do. Everything was out of sorts. He was uncomfortable the entire date, because when you're autistic, you have a certain flow. You have certain things you do, and if you do anything outside of the normalcy for you, it gets uncomfortable. It gets really uncomfortable. So that was the reason why, because he was just so uncomfortable throughout the entire date. But had according to her, awesome date. They panned at the end of the episode where he had walked to her department. He stood there for a minute. She wasn't looking up. And then they panned again. She looked up, and he was walking away. So that's how they ended the episode. So if you have not watched The Good Doctor, listen to me. Good Doctor. The Good Doctor is an absolutely awesome show. And it tugs at me more because my son is on the spectrum of being autistic. So it's really near and dear to me. So, but if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and watch The Good Doctor. Check that out, and that comes on Mondays on ABC. I'm not sure what time. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone, so for me it's like 6. It's 9:00 on Mondays. Okay, so 9:00 on Mondays. All right. So the next show we're going to get into is 911. Now that's the Fox show that stars Angela Bassett. Now, if you guys watch 911. Man, and if you haven't seen season 1, again, I'm going to spoil it for you. If you haven't seen it, you want to go ahead and leave out the live now. 911 stars Angela Bassett, and of course, she's a police officer who is, and they have the LA Fire Department that's out in LA, and they have a couple of different storylines going on in that particular show. Because they have Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is now a permanent character. She was recurring when she first came on a couple of seasons ago. Well, season 2, she came in as a recurring, and then now this season, she is a permanent fixture on that show. So Jennifer Love Hewitt is a 911 operator who helps all the folks in LA with different situations that may happen. And in this particular one, it was kind of funny because if you remember, what would happen at the end of season one, 911? Nothing really big except for Chewie. What's his name? His name? Chewie? Yeah. Chewie. I don't know. But anyway, he got stabbed by Jennifer Love Hewitt's ex-boyfriend, or ex-husband, I'm sorry. I think they showed where she killed him at the end because he was abusive. Excuse me. And in the beginning of this one, Buck had got hurt in the season finale of season two, and they came back and they showed Buck he made a return to the fire department, but he had some lung blood clots and passed out. And if you follow the storyline, if you watch that show, you follow the storyline. Angela Bassett and the commander for the fire department got married. He fell in love and got married. He faced a lot of demons in season two, and he ended up marrying Angela Bassett, who her ex-husband was gay, and found out in season two. So number one, it didn't have a lot of bangs in the first episode. Hopefully, it gets better. If you look at the trailer for 911 on any media outlet, you see this big wave coming. So you're thinking that was episode one, but it wasn't. So it was kind of a letdown for me as I was sitting there watching that.
Buck almost died though.
Okay, Buck almost died. He did almost die, right?
That was pretty rough.
That was pretty rough. But Buck is not. But Buck is also not one of the leads either. He's a big part of the cast. He's not a lead. But and so if I had to rate, and let me put my scale out here because I did not rate my scale. So 1 to 5, 5 being the absolute best episode on the planet ever, and 1 being not at all. Okay, so New Amsterdam gets a 5 for that first episode, and The Good Doctor gets a 4 for the episode. Because not a lot of fireworks in that one, but it was still good. And then 911 gets a 2 because it just didn't bang. It just didn't bang for me. Okay, it just did not bang for me. Now it's going to get good. Now we're getting into the Chicagos. I call them the Chicagos because it's 3 of them. Okay, so it's Chicago Fire, PD, Med. Okay, so we're going to start with Chicago Med I'm gonna be asking my wife stuff because I don't really watch Med like that. But that's kind of her thing. What happened with Med?
Man.
You gotta talk louder.
I wasn't ready for this, so
You can stand around and tell me. Just tell me. What happened? Now she didn't want to cooperate. Any other time I can't get her to stop talking. What happened?
You're putting me on the spot.
Oh, okay. Let's skip Med because, like I said, I don't really watch Med. I just knew one of the doctors got shot, and he was getting ready to marry another doctor, and they broke up at the end of whatever season it is, and and it was just weird. I don't watch Med. I mean, I watch it like in passing. But my show for real is Chicago Fire. Now, we're going to get into Chicago Fire, right? Because Chicago Fire, and I repeat it for this live, if you watch Chicago Fire but have not seen episode 1 of the new season, please exit this live right now. Okay, right now. Okay. Okay. So in Chicago Fire, you had, if you remember the season finale, they were in the mattress, in this mattress factory, and fire broke out. Everybody's just chaos, so bad to the point where Casey asked the paramedics to come in and help with the fire and all that. And so again, another cliffhanger. They're really good with these cliffhangers. They really kill me. Um, and so, excuse me. At the end, they show where the fire breaks out, and people, you know, everybody gets hurt and things of this nature. But they really didn't show all that until the premiere, all right, which was Thursday, right? Thursday. So Thursday's episode season premiere starts. You have um, Brett, who's one of the paramedics. She got hurt. She got her arm broke and started, in a sling. Of course, she leaves the fire department because she wants to go and be with a fiance, which I don't think is going to last because uh, I think she has hidden feelings for Casey. But that's unspoken. We'll see as the season goes, see how that works out. Okay, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's you thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm thinking the
It's
same
just
thing.
not right there.
Yeah, somebody's stirring the pot. Nonetheless, so we move on. So Brett gets hurt, but the biggest thing, the biggest thing that hurt me was when Otis got hurt. Now, if you guys watch Chicago Fire, you know who Otis is. Otis is the one that started the restaurant, made the bar with, um, what is his name? Herman, and he was best friends with Cruz, the bald headed guy, and had the Hitler mustache type of deal, real dark mustache. But Otis was the funniest guy on that show. Right, he was the funniest guy on the show. So they show where um, Otis, I got hurt, and they showed um, they pulled the mask off of him, and he put and it was really bad. It looked really bad, and they took him to the hospital, and you know how law enforcement is. They're really good about being there for each other, and so they have the whole fire department in the hospital. So they show Cruz at Otis's bedside, and he's talking to him. He says, I want to miss you, friend. Da da da. He's saying his goodbyes to Otis, and Otis opens his eyes. He opens his eyes and he utters a Russian phrase or a Russian quote, and we didn't. Of course, none of us speak Russian, so we had no idea what he was saying. But he said that quote, and then he flatlined. So Cruz loses it, and they start back over, and they come back. They go to commercial break and come back. It's 3 months later, and so everybody's walking through the fire department. They show on the wall. They show all the pictures of the firefighters who were lost in the line of duty, and at the very end, they show a picture of Otis, and which is one of those things that just really tugged at your heartstrings. It just really did something to you if you are familiar and if you have any attachment. So the show goes on, and there's an inquiry about the mattress fire. There was wondering why Casey called in the paramedics. There's a whole bunch of little stuff that happened during the episode that kind of made it pop, right? But the biggest thing that happened at the end of the episode was Chief Bowden called everybody from the fire department, from the station outside, and he gave the speech, and there was this monument that was there, and so, and then at this monument they had Otis's helmet bronzed, and they put it on top of this monument, which right there, if you watched it, that will just that'll get you going, right? And so they're all sitting out there, and they said, this monument is for Otis. He said, um, if you see someone at this monument, you guys come out here and you tell them how good Otis was. You tell them um, how wonderful of a firefighter he was, how wonderful of a man he was. And you tell them, he said from now on, you guys watch Chicago Fire. We all know Chief Bowden got that really deep voice, and he's kind of like intimidating or whatever. And he says, from now on, this place, this spot, this is sacred ground. This is sacred ground. And they showed uh, everybody. They just panned around and showed everybody. But then I remember, it was like, let me step back a minute. I remember when I first started watching the episode. 'Cause I didn't watch it till a few days later because my wife said, "Listen to this part right here. You have to catch this." I'm like, "All right." And so this is when Otis said the Russian quote. And so Chief Bowden at the end, he said, the quote. He repeated it. He said, "I looked it up," and he looked right at Cruz, and he said, and he repeated the quote again. He said, "I will." What was it? I will always be with you, brother.
Brother, I will always be with you.
Yeah, he said, "Brother, I will always be with you." And when he said that, and the way he delivered that line, listen to me.
Right now.
Listen, don't you go because I will. Let me tell you something. When he dropped that line, "Brother, I will be with you always." Look, I lost it on my couch. It was just a wrap. It was just a wrap because I was attached to Otis. I thought Otis was a cool kid. You know what I'm saying? And, now he's no longer on the show, and it was good. But they took him out with they took him out on a good note, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome, awesome, awesome. So rest in peace to the character Otis on Chicago Fire, man. He was a cool dude, man. And brother, we'll be with you always, I promise. All right, and so on a scale from 1 to 5, with Chicago Fire, definitely a 5 because I watched that show. I love that show. I loved the way they did it, and it was just sad the way they did it. But a lot of fireworks. All right, next show we're gonna get into Chicago PD. Chicago PD. If anybody watches Chicago PD but have not watched the season premiere of this season, you may want to step out of this live right now because there are some spoilers. Not a lot, but there are a few. Okay. So Chicago PD starts out. Now, if you watch the season finale of last season's Chicago PD, Kelton, who was running for mayor, is mysteriously shot in his apartment. Right. So, but Kelton and his character was so big in the show because he could have ended a lot of careers. He could have ended a lot of things that Voight was doing with the team. And so they were hinting around all last season. They were going, okay, well Kelton has to go, kind of hinting toward it, but never saying anything. But at the end of the season, he mysteriously ends up shot in his apartment. So of course, cliffhanger. Everybody believes that Voight was the one that killed Kelton. And I'm gonna tell you again, spoiler. If everybody believes that Voight did it, right? So the entire episode, it just seems kind of sneaky in the way they was finishing it up. And Voight told one of his members, I can't remember his name right now, but he told him, he said, "Look, it was not Voight that killed Kelton. It was the blonde lady that was a part of the higher brass. The blonde lady, she was the recurring character. I don't remember her name right now, but she's the recurring character in the show. But she was the one that killed Kelton, and she killed Kelton because he was going to expose a lot of stuff, and um, he pissed on her somehow or threw her under the bus somehow, and she was mad. So that's why she went and she killed Kelton. It was a really good episode. Like I said, not a lot of fireworks in this episode this week. So if you watch that, I'm gonna give that a strong 3 for me because other outside of because we waited 6 months to see who killed Kelton. We didn't care about nothing else. We wanted to see who killed Kelton. And so for me, it was that was the only thing they really showed. And episode 1 is a solid 3 for me with Chicago PD. I'm hoping it gets better throughout the season because they're all great shows, and I'm sure they're going to ramp up really quick with these shows. I mean, they go from 0 to 60. You see what Chicago Fire did. Med went from 0 to 60. So we're gonna see how it goes. And last but not least, before I go off this live stream here, my favorite show of all time, dun dun, Law and Order SVU came back for season 21. Season 21 with Olivia at the helm once again. She's been doing this. She's been rolling solo for see Cragen left because Ben's Stabler left after season 12. So season 13, she had Cragen was still there. Cragen and then Munch left the next season. So she's been running this show for about 5 years. And I gotta tell you, I absolutely love Olivia. Mariska Hargitay. 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 No. You know what? Mariska. That's her name. Yeah. Excuse me. So season 21 picks up. All right. So if you guys have been, if anybody in here is an SVU fan, okay, and you know the characters, you have Rollins, Carisi, um, Benson, and then you have Ice-T or Tutuola. So if you are an SVU fan but have not seen episode 1 of the new season, please step out of the stream right now. There are spoilers ahead. Okay, I'm just giving you guys warning every time I say that because I want to make sure. Why did you tell me? Why you tell? I want to watch it. I'm telling you, there's spoilers ahead. All right, so leave now if you haven't watched the first season, the first episode. So it starts out. Now, you guys are aware that Raphael Barba, who's the ADA a couple of seasons ago, went to jail or prison or wherever he resigned or whatever happened to him. He left the show, and then they brought in the guy from the other Chicago show they canceled, and he was the ADA for a little while. His sister got shot, and season before last, and he felt some kind of way about it, so he resigned, right? And so now, if you have not watched it yet, I'm sorry, but I hate to tell you this, I apologize, but Carisi is the new ADA. Carisi took the bar, and he is now the new ADA over SVU with a new bureau chief because Dodds is no longer the bureau chief. But that's besides the point. So their first case of the new season had a young lady who went to audition with this guy for this streaming service called PickFlix, not Netflix. You know how they can't really use that stuff because it's trademarked and copywritten, but PickFlix. And so and come to find this guy was a sexual predator, raped this girl, and come to find out, it's actually, if you guys watch SVU rips their stories or their episodes right from the headlines, right? So this episode was a carbon copy of Harvey Weinstein when he was molesting people and touching folks, and that started the whole Me Too movement, right? So this episode was ripped as a carbon copy of Harvey Weinstein. So at the end of it, it was talking about the Me Too movement and all that good stuff. This guy was a sexual predator. I mean, he was really bad. He had really bad dentures too. His teeth were a mess. But that's it's nothing a little effort that couldn't have fixed. I'm just saying they could have did that, dipped him, put him back in his mouth. But nonetheless, and so the biggest stories of SVU, this episode was that Carisi got promoted. He left SVU, and now is the ADA. So if you're looking for him to be smart and conniving as Detective Carisi, it's over. He is now ADA Carisi. So just in case you guys didn't know that. All right. SVU, of course, always. Oh, and by the end of the episode too, Olivia, because of her work on this particular case that happened, Olivia got promoted to captain. So she went from lieutenant to captain. She's been running the show anyway, but now she officially runs the show because she's now a captain, Olivia Benson. And because of Dodds' involvement, Dodds got bumped down to a traffic cop or something or another in Staten Island. So he leaves the show, um, and leaving Olivia as the head. Now, if you think about that, that's watched SVU for as long as I've watched SVU, um, for her to go from that show started with so many different pieces and cogs. You had Captain Kragen, you had Munch, you had Tutuola, you had Benson, you had Stabler, right? And it was that way for 12 seasons, and then Christopher Elliott, the guy that played Stabler, he actually left the show. And he did his final episode was kind of crazy, but they did him good too. And then season 13 came where Olivia was once, for the first time in that show's history, by herself. They bring in what's that boy's name? Nick. What's his last name? I can't think of his name. But he was a partner. He went crazy. He left. So she's running, and once Kragen left, they gave her the lieutenant. Gave her the unit. And now, entering into season 21, she is rolling solo. She's all by herself. She runs that joint. And she is the only one out of that entire cast that is the lone remaining cast member. She's the only one who's been on that show for all 21 seasons. And Ice-T, or Tutuola, has been on for 20 seasons because Tutuola came in at the beginning of season 2. He made his appearance at the season finale of season 1, but he came in as a full-time character on season 2. So, great show, 21 seasons long. Dick Wolf is doing his thing over there at NBC. Can't really fault them cats. And they got Mariska is the best at what she does, and she's awesome. And the SVU a 5. The Good Doctor a 3. I gave him a 3. What's so funny? I gave him a 3. Now one I gave a 3. Fire a 5. PD a 3. And then I'm giving Med, because I didn't watch it, I'm going to give it a 3 too.
So I forget their names, but the 2 doctors that were dating and then they split up.
Oh, Med, yeah.
Right. The lady was dating that guy who had the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she went to go see Dr. I can't think of his name in the car, but the people that he narked on in the last season tried to kill him.
The gangster folks.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they were both in an accident.
Oh.
That was the big
whoop.
The big whoop on that. Yeah, you put me on the spot. I couldn't think of it right away.
Oh. Well, I knew it had to be something. I wasn't really sure, but...
And the guy pretended that she was his fiance, but he had never actually proposed. And she got a traumatic brain injury.
She don't remember.
She doesn't remember, and he never proposed. He slipped the ring on her finger while she was in a coma.
Oh.
And the doctor knew something was up because he said that wasn't on her finger when she got here. Or we would have taken it off because it's a personal belonging.
Right. So you put it on the finger.
He was in on it, yeah.
Little trifling rascal. Man. Okay. All right, you guys. So that's it. I'm not sure who watched this. I don't know. But if you did, I hope you enjoyed it. That's my rundown. Those are my 6 shows. I'm gonna do those every Sunday because they're great, right? And I think and I'm gonna try to take notes next time. Yeah, and then do this whole. And then do this whole YouTube thing. 'Cause I don't remember all these doctors, man. There's so many characters. All right. So I'm going to skedaddle. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining the live stream. If this is your first time in, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down there for me. And also share it out. I mean, I'm sure there's other fans of 911 and Chicago Fire PD and Med and The Good Doctor and New Amsterdam. So I'm sure there's fans all over this place. So you guys, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And I will see you next week. All right. Peace.